Hello, my name is Jack. Welcome to Cine Watch Read. And I've just watched Halloween Ends. And I gotta say, as a huge fan of the original Halloween film, it's my favorite horror film of all time. And as someone who really appreciates the new films that David Gordon Green has directed, I've gotta say, I feel very overwhelmed, like pretty overwhelmed. And I mean that in the best possible way. I really, really enjoyed this, and I'm overwhelmed because I feel like this is it. This is like the ending. I know there's rumors of another, continuation down the line. I mean, let's face it, this is probably the most rebooted horror film series in history. Like, I don't know, there's about five timelines now, but I gotta say, for as an ending to this particular timeline, I'm happy. I feel very happy with this ending, and I already know this film has got a very polarizing response, and I imagine it's more to do with the more middle section of this film, not so much the actual ending itself. I mean, I've not gone into detail. I've not really followed anyone else's review yet. I've seen some brief reviews from other people, like very non-spoilerific reviews. Some positive, some negative. I sort of like made sure I took it with a pinch of salt. Just for my own opinion, go in as open-minded as possible. And yeah, you definitely need an open mind for this one. And honestly, I feel like it's a risk that at least paid off for me. At least was, I'm a bit weirded out by the choices, but overall, the ending to this is satisfying. So, talking about my overall um opinion on the franchise, as I said, I absolutely love the original film, and like I said, I think it's just such a simple horror film. Didn't rely on too much blood or anything like that. It was just simple, and that's what made it so effective. And then most of the other sequels, tried to up the ante. I know Halloween 2, had loads and loads of blood in it, not even realistic blood. But honestly, the story just I didn't like the story to Halloween 2. I did not like the brother sister twist they did with it, and overall, it was just I just found it boring as well. Like Halloween 2 was pretty boring, I thought. And um, I did like that it was set on the same night as the first film, but you can tell John Carpenter did not direct it. I know he wrote it, but he didn't direct it, and you can tell by the shift in style. And I loved Halloween 3. I think, but that's right, Halloween 3 is not really. It's technically not connected to anything else in this. I mean, it's its own thing with just with the sort of essence, because John Carpenter and Deborah Hill were involved in it. Oh, and this one has kind of a nice little tribute to this as well. But yeah, Halloween 4, I liked Halloween 4 okay-ish. You know, a young little Danielle Harris in that, she was great. But honestly, it didn't grab my attention till the very, very last scene. I think had it not been for that ending to Halloween 4, I don't think it would have been as popular as it is. Halloween 5 was bad. I did not like Halloween 5, and Halloween 6 was even worse. um, H2O was, I really liked H2O when I first saw it, but it's not aged on me well. It's got too much of a Scream vibe. I think too many horror films were trying to mimic Scream at the time, and Halloween H2O just fell into that trap, and it's just not aged well. And then Halloween Resurrection came, and that I guess that was trying to cash in on the found footage genre. But yeah, that was bad as well. And then they got Rob Zombie's remakes. I mean, lots of people hate his films, but you know what? At least Rob Zombie tried some. He knew that people were not going to like his films, so he just made the films he wanted to make. And I really appreciate that. And yeah, David Gordon Green, I feel like his sequels are the first sequels to actually sort of get it. Like, it's like what made like the original's work, and he didn't try to mimic John Carpenter's style. He paid tribute to John Carpenter's style, but he made it his own, and that's how it works. And you can tell David Gordon Green is such a massive fan of the original film. Because he's always plastering so many little tributes, is in more ways than one. And even, like I said, even some subtle nods to the other sequels as well. So he's not going into any of these films, going to these films with hate as the franchise as a whole. It's just like he just wants to do his own thing, and he's offering a nod to the hat to the mostly to the original, but a sort of nod to the hat to the other sequels as well. And I think that's really nice. It's a new thing, but he's also respecting the fans as well. And the thing is, he's doing something original. Like he's exploring this new way of how, like in the 2018, it was about how trauma affected Laurie and how it affected her family. It was about generational trauma. Then Halloween Kills was about how it affects a community, and with Halloween Ends, it's about, in a way, it's kind of both. In a way, it's about how much an evil has an impact on someone or some people, and how it comes full circle in such a pretty unique way. And as I said, David Gordon made a really bizarre choice with the direction, but I really liked it. It's something, I keep saying the word different. It's just a unique approach. I feel like if you want to go into something, if you just want to watch the same, then just watch the original film. If you just want something more of the same, just go watch the original film, because otherwise, what's the point? Try something different. And I always admire something when it takes risks. And I'm being very vague on like what the actual direction is, and that's because I don't want to spoil it. I'll save that for a spoiler section. In terms of like what I am willing to say about what happens in this, I mean, at least something that's already publicly known. Like we know that there's a 4-year time jump between this and the last two films. Laurie is now, she's now trying to move on with her life. She's no longer a recluse now. She's not trying to live in fear anymore. She wants to just live her life now, because it really has consumed her life for 40 years now, and she's now spending it as if it is her last, like as if at least she's gonna die. At least she's dying while living. She's lived her life, and she's now living with Allison, and Allison's now working as a nurse. Laurie's had some therapy now, and she's writing a book about her experience as a way of coping. And she's no longer living out in the outskirts. Now she's living in town in a new house, all public, no security, anything. And again, I love that. I love that it's a new approach. Like, she even looks better as well. Like, she's had her hair done. I think it's been coloured a little bit, and she looks so much more refreshed. And it's just nice to see this new sort of like upbeat Laurie that we kind of a little bit were deprived of in the last two. I mean, she was still awesome in the last two, but I loved this new relaxed sort of like upbeat Laurie. The one who's actually willing to smile a lot. And there's actually a moment actually where she's kind of someone shames her for being happy. But yeah, because it deals, because one of the things is about, it's also about victim blaming as well. And Laurie does get victim blamed quite a lot in this, and I love that, because that is so true to life. Like, people they like to blame victims. Like, why? Laurie was traumatized. She was attacked by Michael through no fault of her own. And it's certainly not her fault that Michael attacked the town again. And she tried. She tried to stop him. She failed, but she tried. And it's not like anyone else would listen to her until it was too late. So it was like, and that's what people do. They just like to blame victims, like saying, well, why didn't you stop him when you had a chance or something. Well, that's not really the point, though, is it? You know, it's not like she made Michael do this. You know, she tried, she failed. Well, that's not her fault. And in terms of like what the actual plot is of this film, though, there is we have this new character called Corey, and like in 3 years prior, so a year after the events of Halloween Kills, like the first Halloween since that last Halloween of the events, Corey was babysitting this child, and the child is killed, and Corey has been suspected since of killing this child, and so it's kind of almost a mystery in a way. Was it Michael? Was it Corey who killed this child? And there's been another series of killings as well, but it didn't seem like it's Michael's style. So it's a case of, is Michael back, or is there a copycat killer? And is it this Corey character? And the way they handle that I can't really spoil the direction it went, but it is an interesting approach, and it is again a good way of exploring how evil has such an impact on the individuals. Anyway, that's pretty much what I'm willing to say about the plot for now, before going into spoilers. In terms of other positives, I mean, it does bring back a lot of some of the tension back from the original. I think it was probably lacking, I think, a bit in 2018, and Kills, like, it brings, I wouldn't say it's as suspenseful as the original Halloween film, but it brings back some of that suspension back, and no, that was something that was definitely lacking, especially in Halloween Kills, because I didn't think Halloween Kills was scary at all. I think it was more about the violence and everything. That it was not enough. There was not much build up. It was all very action packed. So therefore, it took away the scare factor. This one definitely scales down the action again, so they can build it up again. So yeah, don't expect much Michael in this one. And don't worry, there is plenty of Michael in this, but I'm saying it is all build up this time. Like we don't see Michael from the get go like we did in Halloween Kills. He is finally put back into the shadows, and it's all about waiting for him to finally attack again. And I love that. That brings back to the original, and there's a lot more Laurie this time. And screen time is also shared, and of course with other main characters as well. So kind of like in 2018, her scenes are all spaced out, but there's definitely a lot more Laurie than there was in Halloween Kills, because while Laurie got some scenes in Halloween Kills as well, she wasn't. Let's face it, she was not the main character of Halloween Kills. That's not to say I say she was wasted in Halloween Kills, but of course there was no. Of course, she got no action in Halloween Kills because she was still heavily wounded from what happened in the 2018 film. So in this one, of course, we get plenty of Laurie this time, and she definitely gets action in this as well. But like I said, we also get a nice refreshing direction before she gets back into the action. I love it, and I think it is Jamie Lee Curtis's best performance. I can say that about Laurie. I loved her in Halloween Kills. I think she was like so feisty in Halloween Kills, but she also had the down moments as well. But this one, we get to a huge range of like emotions out of her this time. She's still dealing with the trauma, but she's also trying to live her life at the same time. So she's trying to have a more positive outlook on life, but then at the same time she's also preparing herself for the worst as well. And then when things come to a head, like towards the end, all the emotions are compiled, like all just come out in so many different ways, and so Jamie Lee Curtis has given so much more free reign to play with Laurie more than she ever has in all the other previous Halloween films. And where they go with Laurie in this, I have to say I'm happy with where they went with it. I was nervous about what they would do with her, and I'm gonna say I'm happy with it. Yeah. Andi Matichak, I think, was fantastic as Allison again, and even much better than she was before. You know, I feel like each of these new 3 films, I think she got better with each one. And yes, I'm pretty happy with the direction they went with her character, because that was the one thing I was kind of uncertain about, because they kind of kept her role a bit vague when it came to the synopsis. So I guess they were trying to keep where they're going a bit of a surprise. And yeah, and even I'm glad they kept that vague, because even throughout the film I kept wondering, where are they going with her? Like, there was so much build up, and I say I'm overall happy with the direction they went. Yeah, we got some, and we do get some, some returns from other characters as well. You know, Carl Richards comes back as Lindsay. I would have liked to see a bit more of her, to be honest. But overall, I'm glad she's back, at least anyway, for that continuity. Because she's Lindsay Wallace, from the original film, The Little Girl, and it was nice to see her actually have some scenes with Laurie this time, because in Halloween Kills she didn't have any scenes with her at all. So it's nice to see her again, and there was some returns from other minor characters from previous films as well. So I'm glad that they were there. And I say David Gordon Green's direction in this is great as well. As he kept it dark. It was probably the darkest out of all 3 of them, and he sort of brought back some of the atmosphere that I felt John Carpenter had in the original Halloween film. Not mimicking it, just sort of paying a bit more homage to John Carpenter's style than he did in the last 2, and I liked that. And I'd say the climax of this film, I think, is one of the best Halloween climaxes, I'd say. So overall, I'm happy. Where would I rank this in terms of the rest of the Halloween films? I mean, of course, none of them are going to top the original. I don't see. You can try, but I don't think you're going to. And I feel like in a lot of ways, David Gordon's not even trying to top it, because he loves it too much. Which I'd say it's better than Halloween Kills. Whether it's better than the 2018 film, that's hard to say. I feel, as of this earlier reaction, I like it more than Halloween 2018, but time will tell how I feel about it overall. I'm trying to let this sink in. This is kind of like an almost early reaction to this film, and I'm like I said, because I'm so overwhelmed by this, I feel like I want to give it the biggest marks, but then who knows how I'll feel tomorrow, or in a couple of weeks. But overall, I would say, yeah, I'm happy. Try not to take the reviews too seriously. Go in open-minded, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Okay, spoiler alert. All right, so if you've not seen the film, click off now, and let's get into some spoilers. Okay, so Corey is a killer. Yeah, and I gotta say, I did an early predictions video a couple of months back, and not that anyone's watched it, but in that one, when I first heard the synopsis for Halloween Ends about this Corey character, I thought, oh, maybe he's just a red herring. I thought maybe Allison would be the killer. Or at least a killer, because I thought maybe Allison had snapped because of what happened to her that Halloween. I think any sane person could probably snap because of that. And well, thank God I'm wrong. I'm glad I am wrong. And that Allison's not the killer, and Corey is. Yeah, I can imagine a lot of fans are going to be pissed off by this because people are going to say, well, Michael's not the killer in this, but no, he is the killer in this. I mean, Corey is a killer, and he's one of the killers, shall we say. And he does a bulk of the killing, but let's face it, it's still Michael as the main killer. If there's no Michael, there's no Corey. That's what I'm saying. Why they went in this direction, I think it's about how evil has this impact, and I feel in a way, it's almost an expansion of what they kind of were doing with Dr. Sartain in the 2018 film, where it was where he was trying to see what is it like to kill a person? What does such an evil act do to do to do to someone? And with Corey, we see that explored a bit. Like we see that, because it seemed like maybe he killed the child at the beginning. I think maybe it was like an accident. I couldn't remember. Was it cold blooded or not? I can't remember because they didn't really. I imagine I didn't want to show it too much because of, it's the death of a child. But I just got the impression maybe Corey killed that child by accident, and now death is now, or now that thrill has just got to him, and he's no longer Corey, the good kid that he was before that. Kind of like how Michael was presumably just a normal child, and then one day he just killed, and then he wasn't himself ever again. I think that's what they were trying to go with. It was like they were trying to do like the parallel between Michael and Corey, and I'm guessing there was also I guess they were also trying to do that parallel with Laurie herself as well, because I'm guessing that's why the two names rhyme, like Corey and Laurie. I guess they were trying to see maybe like did Laurie have a snapping point as well, because there were moments, especially in the 2018 film, where it seemed like Laurie was becoming Michael. Like they did, like this, like they were mimicking like shots from the first film of Michael, but putting Laurie into Michael's place, like the way she was looking at Allison at the school, kind of like how Michael did the same thing to Laurie in the first film, and then again like when Laurie fell off the roof and then suddenly disappeared, just like how Michael did in the first film. And it was just trying to show like how the evil has an impact on different people. Like people can, it's like you it's kind of like almost like a testament to the humanity, I guess, about how Laurie was not touched by evil, but Corey was. Like I think that's what they were trying to do, and I was a bit surprised though that it all resulted in Corey committing suicide, like stabbing himself in the neck. But I guess in some way that was supposed to but I guess in some way that was like his almost final like FU to Laurie, like trying to make it look like she stabbed him and made it so Allison would think that her grandmom has snapped just like Corey did. So that's kind of my almost my pathetic analysis. I haven't given it too much thought because like I said, I've only just seen the film. I probably have to think about it a bit more before I even go into that. But overall, I don't have a problem with the Corey thing. I mean, it was something I needed to get used to, but I feel like it was a good, interesting direction, and it doesn't take away. I don't think it took away anything from Michael at all. I think, he was still the main villain. He was still the boogeyman, and overall the build up. When we finally get the final showdown between Laurie and Michael, it was satisfying. Like when that was the one thing I was sort of like a little underwhelmed with the 2018 film, because at the time, of course, we had no idea this was going to be a trilogy at all. As far as we were concerned, the 2018 film was a one-off sequel, and so so at the time I felt like I was waiting for like a one-on-one with Michael and Laurie, and we did get that in the 2018 film, but it wasn't long enough, and I didn't really find it that scary either. Then it became about Karen and Allison and Laurie together taking down Michael and burning down the house, and this time it was one-on-one with Michael, Laurie in the kitchen, and it was just like an all-out thing, and then the way she finally overpowers him and just stabs him it was almost like she was crucifying him, like she pinned him down, and then almost like it's pretty biblical, I thought, and then of course he grabs her by the neck and brings it up, and like you suddenly see all these flashes of her all her previous encounters like all in one, and you just see all that flashes and think like, oh my god, is he finally gonna kill her like that? And then Allison like finally intervenes and puts a stop to it. Like, I loved it, and it's like, it's like, I was like, yes. I was like, yes, yes. Fine, Laurie gets to live. I mean, I was so kind of, I didn't want Laurie to die, but I was prepared. I was so prepared for it. So when that moment happened, I was like, fuck, this is it. And then, yeah, yeah, Alison comes in. She comes to her senses finally, because I did think, because I thought Alison was kind of, I didn't really, at first I thought Alison was kind of being a bit of an idiot, but then she came to her senses in the end, so whatever, it's fine. And so she comes in, she saves Laurie, and yeah, then finally she, instead of, she kind of like sensually kills him. Like, she doesn't go like all stabby, like she slits his wrist, and of course she slits his throat as well, and she just lets the blood pour out. Like, and it just feels so, it feels very biblical. And then of course they take his body out, and then of course everyone's following, like almost like it's like a funeral for Michael. And then of course they put him in that car shredder. and and I can't say, this is probably the first Halloween film I can think of that kind of has a happy ending. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, in other films where I feel like it seemed like Michael got defeated, like Halloween 2, for example, and Halloween H2O. I mean, you know, when you think Michael's dead and at the end of those films, it's not presented in sort of like a, I wouldn't say that they're as triumphant. They felt more bittersweet at best. This one, I actually felt like it was mostly happy. Laurie, Laurie has finally, defeated her monster. She's finished her memoir at the end. Alison, she's moving on. She's taking a road trip, I think, at the end, and then Hawkins comes back, and they're going to get together at the end. But then at the same time, there's that, you see Michael's mask in her study or something, and then so we know that Laurie may not fully move on, but at the very least she's got a bit of hope in the future now, and unlike what she's ever had before. And you know what, she's earned it. She's really earned it, and so I feel like, yes, this is the best ending for Laurie they've ever had. I said I was prepared to see her die, but instead, no, she gets to live, and like Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode, finally, because she's been done dirty in the past. The Halloween 4 killed her off screen. She kind of got her triumphant at the end of H2O, but then the beginning of Halloween Resurrection messed it up in the most insulting way possible, and this one gives her a real happy ending, or at least a hopeful ending. And oh god, I feel like I'm about to tear up now because I'm just that happy and just that overwhelmed that a character I really loved from the original film, and finally, these sequels finally get what she was about, and no wonder Jamie Lee Curtis is practically crying in every interview, because it's pretty clear she's so dedicated to this, and she's so and she's really in love with this character, and she really wanted to give her the best ending possible, and she got it. And I feel that Jamie, yeah, so I think that's probably the best note I can end this review / reaction on, because yes, so yeah, I love this movie. I don't care what the negative reviews are, because I've not gone into depth on them anyway, but as far as I'm concerned, I love this. I'll probably watch this about 20 more times in the cinema now, just because I'm so satisfied. So yes, happy Halloween, everyone, and thumbs up to Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis.